Hello and welcome to our KTN webcast for April. This month, we're going to talk about successfully fielding legitimate complaints and I think the topic that drew a lot of you in today, how to stop the full refund scammers. So we have nearly 200 people from around the world. I'm going to start out with some shout outs here in a moment, but first a really important shout out, which is to our sponsors, without whom we could not have this possible. Track, a TravelNet solution, Travel Outlook, the premium hotel call center, and Better Talent. All of these have been hugely supportive of us, not only to financially support the promotion of these and all the time it takes to develop these, but also to forward on the registration details. So if you're a client of one of these fine companies, please let them know if you like our webcast. Today, we're going to do a few shout outs as we always do, and then get right on into this. The actual content part is approximately 40 minutes. So first of all, to our clients, some of you we just got to see: Sanders Beach Rentals, Jennifer, Sarah Elizabeth, great to see you. Atlantic Vacations Homes, Michelle, saw you, all of you, just recently in New Orleans at the VRMA Spring Forum. Jonathan, we missed you, but I know we'll be seeing you folks for another private webcam training with me. James Hospitality Group, Sandy, thank you for taking the lead. I'll be seeing you folks on Monday to present the on-site training for your hotel group up in Ocean City, Maryland. Looking forward to that. Compass Resorts, Allison Torres and team. Wow, you have a lot of people here. Shout out to you, all my friends in Destin. Nima, Prestige Hotels of Canada. Great to see you sign up. We saw a few other Prestige hotels on the list. Nizuk, Paola, and Gabriela. I was just this morning looking at flights to come and see you in Cancun for the amazing Nizuk Resort. I talk about you all the time. Probably the most memorable hotel architecturally, but I don't want to play favorites because we also have Francesco from Conrad Tulum, also a beautiful hotel in Mexico. And then Oak Island Accommodations, Melanie's team, thank you for turning out. Padre Getaways, I'll see you folks in May when I present at the South Padre Island Conventioners and Visitors Bureau session and their annual conference. Other Outer Banks clients, Seaside, Outer Banks Blue, Terry, Sierra, hello, Brittany Blackman. It's great to be in touch now on social media, and I can't wait to hear more about the housekeeping training that you're doing with Sean Kemper. So internationally, Makinda, Nairobi, Kenya, again, we're so honored that you join us from the Hospitality School. The OD Group from Spain, Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. Vietnam is in the house. Well, not really in the house. That's what we say in US. But Melinda at the, no, Alvar at the Melinda Hotel in Vietnam. I would love to come and visit you as well. Jamaica, one of my favorite happy places. And so Isa at the Half Moon, amazing legendary hotel. Camille, Hotel Pod Jedlami in Poland. Kathy Cook and I will be in Berlin and then flying over you to go to Lithuania this summer on vacation, but maybe we need to make a little stop there in Poland. And Georgia at Albergator Pro. I hope to be seeing you again in Italy and Rimini this fall to speak at your Albergator Pro, which those of you who don't speak Italian means hotelier, professional hotelier in Italian. We have a lot of new folks. French Quarter, Hyatt Centric. Thank you, Maya and Patrick, a GM and an FOM on the same webcast. I just walked past your hotel when we were, our KTN team was in the French Quarter. We were there speaking at a conference at the convention center. Legacy Hotel Group, Gina, thank you for turning out. We love to see GMs showing up. I hope you get the word out to some of your other GMs at Legacy Hotel Group. LBA Hospitality, I know we've had GMs before. Nathan, we appreciate you. Again, let your colleagues know to join us. Every single month we do one of these webcasts on a different topic. Asaf Resort, I just had Aaliyah sign up for our newsletter, and we have you today from reservations, and Jackie, the front office manager. I did check out your website. What a beautiful property up in Wisconsin. Great place for South Florida people to go in the middle of the hot summer here. Mohonk. I believe that might be the Mohonk Mountain House, or formerly known as, but I did training for your hotel in the 90s. I will never forget that. Greta, thank you for joining us. And thank all of you. We saw so many friends on the list. Julia Kennedy, our marketing and social media coordinator, and I, from about 11:15 on, we looked through the list because I'm actually sitting here in our office in Miami staring at a little black webcam, but I'm imagining people around the world. I think our count today is about 5 continents. We have had at times all 6 populated continents, but it really helps me know that you're out there. So whether you're watching live or joining us on the recording, I truly hope to bring value as we now launch into our topic, successfully fielding legit complaints, and then we will spend the second half on how to stop those full refund scammers, because there are out there, okay? And so far, I think I may be the only training company at Kennedy Training Network. There may be some individuals, but the only company that addresses this topic, the reality that we're faced with. But let's first look at complaints. Now, we should actually love complaints. One of the trick questions from our Heart of Hospitality, whoops, wrong panel, Heart of Hospitality certification, which we do either on site, as we've done for a lot of you that I just shouted out, or we do it in a live, private, remote learning. And that is presented individually, very affordable. One of the things we talk about, a trick question, what is the worst possible complaint? It is the one that is never mentioned. And doesn't it break your little hearts when you read that review about something and you just want to say, how'd you just let us know? We could have helped you. So it's actually a privilege to receive complaints. Complaints are opportunities. Now, those of you who are attending my webcam training today, you know, the next time you get a complaint, I expect you to do the fist pump, to shout out, yes, I just got a complaint. Your manager will be walking by and say, what is up with you, Chris? I just got a complaint. A complaint? Yes, because that is a chance to turn those problems from complainers into social media promoters. Because if we properly handle the complaint, it is actually a huge opportunity. Because we can get the best review ever, the best review possible, at least in my opinion. Now, when I travel, a lot of times I stay with client friends and they take great care of me. But occasionally I find myself as that random person shopping online for a place to stay. And you know, if I'm just traveling on business for one night, I probably won't even bother to read the reviews. I'll just go with the brand. But if it's an important enough trip and I'm bringing family or friends, or I'm staying a longer time, I will read those reviews. And when I do, the review that really locks me in, and I think a lot of other consumers out there, is what I call the butt review. Now, I know you're thinking, why is Doug Kennedy talking about butts here? It is not a new dance. Contrary to popular belief, some people think it is the butt dance. Maybe we could invent a new dance called the butt. But what we're talking about here is the butt review. You know what I'm talking about if you actually read guest reviews. Everything was really good, but this one thing went wrong, but everything else was fantastic. Or everything was really good during my stay, but this thing happened, but it was amazing how they handled it. That is the place I want to stay. And I think most humans are that way too, because we all live in the same imperfect world. We all work for the same imperfect companies. So we know something's going to go wrong, especially if you're booking a suite or a long stay or an all-inclusive resort, or a resort where you're going to spend a lot of time, or a hotel where you're having a meeting, something, or a vacation home where you have so many bedrooms, kitchen, maybe a home theater rooms, recreation. You have a lot of stuff that can go wrong. And when you see the butt review, you know that company is going to have your back. So when we properly handle complaints and we do that, we actually can be a lightning rod to ground those negative vibes. And some of you all maybe remember, probably most of you all know what a lightning rod is. And the purpose of a lightning rod, it sits at the top of tall buildings, maybe even your own house. and it attracts the lightning. But do you know what happens to the lightning once it hits the lightning rod? I do, because my father, George Kennedy, was an electrical engineer, and we had one on our roof, unlike most of our neighbors. It takes that electricity, it runs it through a wire that is insulated down into the ground, and it dissipates in the earth's soil. That's why you call being grounded. We have all these sayings in American English, and a lot of people don't really know what they're coming from. But we actually take a lightning rod concept, grab that negativity, bring it on, and let's stick it in the ground and make it go away. Not always, which is why we're going to talk about the full refund scammers before we're done today. But more often than not, if we handle the complaint well, it will end there. Okay. So when guests are actually having complaints, we call this conquering complaints. When guests are upset, you're actually dealing with two things. You're dealing with the thing, and you're dealing with the emotional reaction to that thing. So before you start fixing the problem, we have to deal with their emotional duress. Remember, we are emotional creatures primarily living in a physical world, especially when it's an important trip and you're there to close a big business deal, or you're there for a stressful meeting, or you're there with your first time traveling with your baby, or your last time with your kids before they go to college, or your honeymoon, or a hospital stay, or maybe even a funeral. We have a lot going on. People get emotional, especially when if you've been in my webcast, you know I talk about a lot of the themes, but this is our business. It's really simple intellectually, but I want to remind you of these concepts so we internalize them here. The longest journey in the world, about 18 inches from knowing to feeling. The emotions that our guests go through, they are tired, they're hungry. What time do you think they woke up for that 7 a.m. wheels up departure time? How long was it? How long was it in the vehicle where they drove to you? How long did it really feel? GPS said they would get there in 4 hours, but it took 6.5. So before you start dealing with the actual issue, deal with their emotional reaction to that issue. And that's why in our, Heart of Hospitality program, pillar number 5 is be all ears. We have an acronym that we share. And be all ears means, first of all, when somebody is upset, the first thing you want to do is let them vent. Let them fully vent their issue. Do not interrupt. Sometimes you know what the solution is. They could be saying, they don't just walk up calmly and say, my key won't open the door. Or they don't just call you and say, my door code is not working. Or the remote's not turning on the TV. They got to give you the big drama. I just walked all the way to my room at the end of the hallway, and it's raining tonight, and my feet are killing me. Or I have a 2-year-old with short legs, and they have to go to the potty, and I get all the way to the door. And you just want to say, sir, let me redo your key. Or did you press the check mark after you put the door code in? Yeah, but you have to let them share their drama. Do not interrupt. That is putting gasoline on the fire. Okay, I just heard somebody else, maybe it was a video I saw, the 2 worst things you could ever say to an upset person. Yeah, maybe you accidentally did this in a relationship once. Calm down. Oh, that is a really good thing, like setting the lighter onto the butane. So let them talk. And once they are done, before you do anything else, ladies and gentlemen, empathize. Empathize. That is the E in ears. What we tend to do, a lot of people in this world, we want to go straight to resolve it, or maybe we apologize and we resolve it. And you say, oh, I'm so sorry. And they're going to be like, you are too sorry. Yeah, you're going to be sorry when I did a review, and I'm sorry that I stayed here. When I worked for Marriott, they would say, we know, Mr. Marriott, we're going to get you fired. Sometimes they say, I'm a titanium, I'm an ambassador, I'm Hilton, whatever is the highest Hilton these days, platinum, I don't know, what's the most precious metal, plutonium. I'm going to get you fired. Sometimes they actually do get people fired, sadly enough. But if you go straight to saying I'm sorry, or if you go straight to fixing it, you're setting off a time bomb. But if you empathize, you see, because when guests complain, their emotions outweigh their logic. Should they really get, busting a gasket, as they say, over a key that won't work that cost them a 3-minute walk? No, but they are, because they're humans in a physical world. So when you apologize before you resolve, you show empathy, they receive validation. When you express empathy, the person you're communicating with, they receive a sense of validation. It's almost like when you go out to dinner and you pull up to that fancy restaurant and you have a meal, and instead of paying 15 or in New York City, $75 for parking, they validate your ticket. Okay, in New York, they probably don't validate your ticket because you probably came in an Uber, unless you're out on Long Island. Hello, Garden City, folks. But when you validate the ticket, you're saying, okay, you can now drive through, and we have validated that you're our customer, and you can now leave without paying. When we validate someone's emotions, it's like saying, I get you. I understand you. Because you're dealing with an emotional creature, not a logical mind at this moment. So to express empathy, say something like this: Mr. Kennedy or Douglas, if you're at a company that is on first name basis with your guests, which tends to be the trend. However, when an upset person is upset, I would go back to the formal. Mr. Kennedy, I can imagine how frustrating you can be, or I understand how you might feel. Kathy Cook, our executive director of training, that teaches most of our Heart of Hospitality live webcasts. She actually will make people, please take out a pen, write down these words, imagine or understand, or use them both. Okay, I can understand how you might feel, and I imagine I might feel the same way too. But you must say it with heart. And that is, we covered the pillars of hospitality, okay, in this program. It's hard to see which lapel I'm grabbing in the mirror vision on this camera. Pillars cover what to say, but the heart is authentic kindness, how you say it. Because if you say, oh, Mr. Kennedy, I understand how you feel because I went to this webcast with Doug Kennedy and he said to say, I understand how you feel and I apologize, make you feel that way. They're going to be like, no, you don't. And you have just made it even worse because it's a fake apology and it's scripted and it's meaningless. We might as well be replaced by those AI chatbots. But when we put some heart into it and some tonality in our voice that shows, oh, I understand how you feel, and then personalize it. And your room number 399, it is a very long walk, and it is 11:30 at night, and oh, yeah, with the little one there, or with the large packages that you're carrying. Okay, and we can use this in any context. I understand how you feel, and I apologize that the meal took a long time to come out, and I recognize this is a special occasion for you here at your restaurant. Okay, or maintenance. You go there, they say the remote won't turn on the TV. Oh, sir, well, I have you on the line. Can you just, no, send someone over. And the maintenance tech knocks on the door of that vacation home, and we walk in and they're unhappy to see us, and then you realize they're using the wrong remote. It says Cabana Bay Fan Company, and they're trying to turn on the Samsung TV, and they feel pretty silly. But you say, it's okay, Mr. Kennedy, I understand how you feel, and I can imagine how it would be trying to unpack your vacation supplies here on the first day of arrival. Where are you folks from? Oh, it's a very long drive. Now, you know what they're going to say next? Well, I know it's not your fault, but let's come back to that. So empathize, then apologize, okay? I understand how you feel. I can imagine how frustrating that would be, and I apologize for the situation. Whatever it is, take the higher path, apologize. You may not have even caused it. You might have to apologize for the rain. I apologize that it rained on your entire vacation. I apologize for the ice storm here for your business trip that made it hard to get to the hotel. Whatever it is, take the higher path. Show a little bit of heart, a little bit of kindness. And here's what they're going to say. Well, I know it's not your fault, and you're actually being very nice. And you just defused the upset, the angry guest. Okay. Now this stuff really works. Next up, resolve it. All right. It really works unless you have the full refund scammers coming up next. Don't worry. Resolve it, okay? Now, try to give them a choice of options and involve them in the resolution. So let's talk about hotels. Probably 2/3 of you or more are working in hotels. You actually have it made compared with private rental, vacation rental companies, short-term rental companies, because relatively, it's a lot easier. You can move them to another room. So if they're in 401, you can offer 501 or 301 or even 402 because they're probably just about the same and they're owned by the same person or corporate entity that owns all of the rooms, okay? But even then, it's not so easy. You can say, well, I can send someone up to fix the air conditioner or replace the mini fridge later today, or I can move you to another room now. Most of the time, if I'm staying 2 or 3 nights, especially if I'm traveling with Kathy Cook, the first thing we do, we travel a lot. First thing we do, we get into the guest room and we don't even talk for about 10 minutes till we get our stuff out. And we have a routine and we set everything out and we hang up the clothes and we get settled in for the night. She picks her side of the bed, always the one closer to the bathroom. Um, and then the last thing we want to do is pack it all up and move it again. Although maybe you could have a bell person move them if you're at a full service hotel. But which would you prefer? We can send someone back later to fix the AC, but since it is summer and it's a hot day, if you'd like, we can move you to another room right now, depending on the time of day. So give them choices. In a vacation home rental, it's a lot harder because unless there's a flood, unless there's something that makes the vacation home inhabitable, it's hard to justify moving them to a different property. And you might not even have one, which is why it's a good idea to know your competitors when you work in the vacation rental business, because you want to be able to come through and help each other out. Now, something else that's missing a lot of times, do we follow up to make sure they're satisfied? Do you really put some heart in it when you do? Now, if someone calls and said they wanted extra towels or that the the iron doesn't heat up and they need a new iron, something relatively minor, maybe you don't have to follow up. But when people have expressed emotion and you sense it in their voice, or they're typing to you in all caps in the chat or the text system, do you follow up to make sure they're satisfied? Now, you might have a company that has Breezeway. A lot of you may have Breezeway. Hotels are familiar with Hot SOS, commonly known as hot sauce. Some of you have those that prompts you to follow up. So maintenance tech, she goes and fixes something in the room. She then signals the telephone operator or front desk, and then he calls up and says, hello, Jane from maintenance just informed me everything was all set, but I wanted to check with you personally, okay? Especially for major complaints, okay? And this is a little bit extra that we do when we really want to make sure they are satisfied. If you don't have Hot SOS and you don't have Breezeway, you don't have Track, I believe, has an integrated solution for this as well. I don't want to forget them. You have reminders and alerts that you can set. If you don't have that, set your cell phone or do what we did in the 1980s when I worked in hotels. Good old-fashioned Post-it notes. Make a note, follow up. Okay, so that's how to hopefully stop it there at the but. Everything was really good, but something went bad, but everything else was amazing. That is the review you want. But now let's talk about the full refund scammers. Yeah, because that's why most of you signed up for this webcast, isn't it? Let us take a closer look. Who are these full refund scammers? We tend to think they have faces more like these folks, that they're mean, that they're nasty, that they're rude, and they check into the hotel or they book with a vacation rental and they show up at that home and they come on strong as rude, offensive, nasty human beings. But a lot of times they're present as perfectly nice individuals because it is almost like a game to them. So some of them are mean and will yell at you, but some of them will sweet talk you because their whole intention setting out is to get it for free. And they're going to go, yes, I scored another comp night. It's interesting. I actually got the concept of doing adding this content to our training programs at Kennedy Training Network when I had a conversation with a neighbor at a community party. Now, we actually live in a villa complex where it's one-story homes that are attached in blocks of 4. It's a beautiful community. I'm very grateful and blessed. Kathy Cook is on our HOA. We had, I think it was a Memorial Day or is a summer party, maybe Labor Day, July 4th. Everyone's at the pool. There's a group of very kind, sweet, elderly ladies. I plot myself down because I try to be social with my neighbors, and I started chatting them up. And they said, "Oh, so what do you do, Douglas?" And I said, "Actually, Kathy and I, we own a company and we train hotels and vacation rental companies all around the world. What do you train them on?" We train them on being excellent at guest service. One of them pipes up, a sweet elderly lady, probably like your grandma or your great grandma. She says, "Oh, I stay at hotels all the time. You know what I love to do, Douglas? I love to get my room for free." She said, "Yeah, do it all the time. Tell you, just recently I stayed at a Hampton Inn. Here's a surefire way. Just move that mini fridge. They always forget to clean there. I find this typical layer of dust. I call that manager up to my room and I say, look at this room. This is disgusting and filthy. If you don't call me, I'm going to do a bad review." And it works every time. And I said, "Oh, really? Thank you. Thanks for sharing that, because now I really know all about you. But also, I got a great new idea for my training. Don't cave, folks." But what happens is the damages, these full refund scammers, they could potentially scare off potential guests if we don't handle that. They damage the brand if we don't respond. And what happens is a lot of you either don't respond or you contact the guest and you negotiate. It's like negotiating with a terrorist, or if you have a 4-year-old, negotiating with a 4-year-old over that piece of candy. They're going to win. And then, you say, "Well, I'll comp you one night of your 3-night stay if you take the review down. We want 2 or we want 3." And they actually hold us hostage. And then sometimes they might not even take it down. Some of you actually ignore them, and that's not good either. So what happens is they destroy our staff morale and they create cynicism. They destroy the staff morale because the staff says no, no, no all the way through. And then the big boss, she walks in and says, "Okay, you got it." And they feel that they've been overridden. Now, I get it. I understand. When I was a front office manager a little bit later in my career, and I remember we had full refund scammers back then. It is nothing new. And I said, "No, no, no." Front desk clerk said no. The supervisor said no. My assistant said no. And then I said no. They said, "Where's your general manager?" They walked into Mr. Soto's office. They talked to his admin. They sat down. He came back and comped their whole stay. So I understand. He said, "If I don't do this, they're going to be blasting me." That was actually just in the era of word of mouth. Okay. So there may be a time to cave, but I do think it has gotten out of hand because it sets off a chain reaction. And the more we cave, the more other guests get the idea and the idea catches on. Also, it destroys our staff's morale and they start to become cynical. So let us do the Doug Kennedy test to see if cynicism has invaded your company culture. If you're watching our webcast today with a group of your colleagues, I want you to write down the answer of how you would respond to this question. If you're a leader, I want you to go to your next staff or departmental meeting and ask this question, and it will tell you how your company is on the cynicism scale, okay? So ask your staff, or maybe even ask yourself, how would you answer this question? Or rather, let me say, how would you complete this sentence? Guests these days only complain because I know what people say, because I conduct 6 on-site training classes a month, about 70 a year throughout the world. And I teach hotels, I teach resorts, I teach B&Bs, I teach boutiques, city center, resort, I train vacation companies. The most common answer is to get something for free. And when cynicism invades your culture, it is like a little weed that plants and it starts to grow and it poisons everyone. If you're with me on other webcasts, I love to use the example of the kudzu weed. The kudzu ivy was actually brought to the United States from Asia, where it grew as a native plant. Here it's become an invasive species. And when kudzu grows, you actually will see it around the Southeast United States in particular. And it is a weed, it's an ivy, and it grows, and it's a climber. It finds the nearest tree or light or pole, and it goes to the top, and then it spreads to the top of the tree canopy, as you see here. Underneath this vine are trees. And once it covers the tree canopy, there's total darkness. Everything below will die out. I use that analogy because once cynicism invades your culture, and I've seen this a lot in the hotel business, everything becomes darkness. Another similar statement you may hear a lot is, oh, guests these days are so much, complete that sentence, so much more difficult, so much more mean, so much more annoying. That means your head and your heart have been poisoned by cynicism. Let me tell you something. I started working with customers when I was 9 years old. From age 9 to 20, I worked for my mom, Barbara Kennedy, in the Kennedy Craft Supply Store. I remember mean customers back then. My mom actually banished a few from the craft shop. They were so bad. I remember working as a banquet waiter, airport van driver, bellman, front desk, reservations manager in New York City, front office manager in Miami, up until I started my company in 1989. By the way, I am today 11 days from completing 35 years of owning my own training company, and I presented 2,650 days of training. But even going back to when I worked with the public, it's never been easy, folks. We've always had the meanies. Now, some of you say, oh, but Doug, COVID. Yeah, COVID made the meanies meaner. But correct me if I'm wrong, when you think about it, it made the nice people nicer. Because a lot of us, COVID caused us the gratitude to sprout, not like a kudzu weed, but like a blooming flower, a wildflower in the lawn that fights back. So don't let that cynicism invade your company, your hotel, your resort, your vacation rental home, property management company. Fight back against it. It's always been difficult. It's never been easy. It is okay to vent, but it is not okay to demean and disrespect guests. Be careful not to reinforce those negative stereotypes. This is really how to stop the full refund scammers, because the more you reinforce it, it's like you feed the evil. You feed the evil. The more you give evil attention, the more that evil grows powerful. And that both is a metaphysical concept and an actual thing in the customer service business. So if you start to think the next guest is a scammer, they're only complaining because they want something free, and guests only complain and guests are getting more difficult, you become hardened and you either leave the hotel industry or you become a really stressed out person and you come into work every day thinking, how many mean, difficult, rude guests do I have to take care of today? And guess what you meet all day long? Get what you expect. So let's talk about the real deal now. The 5%, if you've been with me for other programs, personalities balance out. 5% of the humans are super nice. 5% of the humans are not very nice. Isn't that a nice way to put it? Out of the 5% are not very nice, 4 out of 5, they're just not very nice. Every family has one, right? You've got that person that complains. Every hotel or lodging company has one. They complain the whole stay and then they rebook for next year. But what I'm talking about is the 1% of the meanies, and out of those, they're actually scammers. Now, I actually have found a solution. It's a technology solution. Send me an email and I will direct you to a new company. What they've done is you route your 800 number through them, and they actually do a personality assessment on every inbound call. You know how you get the scammer calling? It said, yeah, it actually, I'm sorry, you know how you get the scammer calling? It says difficult guest line 1. Yeah, I wish. It's actually not true. But wouldn't it be nice, just like I get a scammer calling, scam call likely, if we had that for scam guest likely, but I haven't seen that technology yet. Maybe someday they will actually have that. But until then, I'm going to give you the tips now and our takeaways. First of all, document the red flags during every guest interaction. Okay, depending on what property management system you have, or CRM, or if you're one of our lovely B&Bs, I think it's Greyhaven is with us today, a B&B that I met at the Allied Lodging Professionals Conference in Baltimore. Hello. Um, to you, write it in the book, okay? But most of us have a CRM or a property management system. Put in there the notes on those guest interactions, and also starting at the beginning of their inquiry, but continuing on through the email and textual exchanges, all right? So when they first call, you can kind of sense it, your radar, your spidey senses start to go off, okay? And put in there, guest objected to the fee and was notified it could not be waived. Yes, we do charge a cleaning fee, and there is a destination fee. I was just at the Mayflower Hotel, Washington, D.C., and they charge a destination fee for a city center hotel. If you're one of those hotels that charges a destination fee, good for you. Congratulations. You can get away with another fee. Okay. Hats off to my revenue management friends. Being in the profit side of the hotel business and vacation rental business, same thing. Okay. But hold your ground. Put in there, guest was notified. Guest was notified. Early check-in, late check-out could not be confirmed. That this is not a pet-friendly accommodation. Okay, if it's a small, well-behaved dog that never barks, never sheds, never has any fleas, never bit anyone. Yeah. Guest was notified. Housekeeping is provided every other day if you're a hotel, or it's not provided mid-stay unless you want to do a mid-stay clean for an additional charge. Guest was notified. Okay. And then when that person says, no one told me, or someone said I would get it, or no one told me I wouldn't get it, we can have a couple of my favorite transitional words. I encourage you to do a screenshot of this and a couple more that are coming up. Oh, in checking further, I love that. Let me check further. Oh, in checking further, there must be some confusion. Now, I'm going to say it cynically. You would never actually say it to the guests, but I'm not talking to a guest. So I guess let me do it as I would really say. Mr. Kennedy, and checking further, there must be some confusion because I did find in the notes that Chris had actually mentioned this when you called to reconfirm the booking. Okay. Did you call directly, or was it someone else in your party that called? Give them the way out. Do not ever back them into the corner, because they will be like a cage, like an animal, any animal backed into the corner that becomes very vicious. Give them an out. Oh, there must be some confusion. Maybe someone else called, but I see here in the notes that Chris from Front Desk, Reservations, Guest Experience, they did speak with someone. I can look and see who that was, but yeah, there must be some confusion. Now, if you are really smart, you have what I call the guest honesty verification system. Now, we would never actually say that to the guest. Again, in the dream world, oh, yes, ma'am, let me check my guest honesty verification system and I will pull the actual call. Again, our fantasy world, but oh, Mr. Kennedy, you were told that? Oh, well, that's terrific. Well, I'll tell you what I'll be able to do then. Did you call from your cell phone? They're going to be like, sure, because they don't know you're trapping them. Sure, I did. Okay, terrific. Tell you what I'm going to do. Give me just a couple of minutes. I'm going to go in the back and I'm going to check, because we actually record all calls for training and evaluation purposes. And I'll just look up your phone number and I'll actually find that call and I'll verify it for you. And now at this point, a lot of your people are going to be like, well, like this guy here, well, I'm pretty sure, I think so. You know what? Don't worry about it. Yeah, because they know it's not true and you got them. Now, if you're here for the other sales training, the reservation sales training, for example, next month's topic, then you know I'm a huge advocate of these systems. Track Pulse, our sponsor, a TravelNet solution, offers call recording and CRM. There's also Revenate, SendSquare, Ring Central. We're not pushing any particular one on this webcast, but look into your options. Get call recording. You also get then lead tracking, lead follow-up. You also know what time of day, what days of the week, how long the calls are. Now, when they're in-house, when they're on-site, when they're in-home, document those response times. Action steps taken, alternatives offered but refused. Okay, Mr. Kennedy, we can send someone over right now to resolve that issue. Well, actually, now's not a good time because my baby is sleeping, or now's not a good time, it's late at night. Okay, we offered to bring you a new iron or to come and to fix the AC, but it wasn't a good, guest said it wasn't a good time. This saves time. Now, we got a couple of guest reputation people for their companies I saw on the registration list when Julia and I were looking for it. You have to write the responses. We have a lot of GMs. I bet you are the one that has to write your responses, or large properties front office manager. You know what I'm talking about. You do not have to play Sherlock Holmes with the detective hat and go and try to retrace what people remember when they really don't remember anything. But if you have your notes, it saves forensic research, and you come with the facts. You come back with the facts, okay? Now, let's talk about the bully. The bully will actually threaten a negative review. If you don't give me this, I'm going to do a bad review. Now, I do think there is a time to give a refund, okay? In the vacation home business, if the guest could not sleep there that night because there was no air conditioning in the summer, no heat in the winter, there was a major flood, but because there was an ant on the balcony, or a tiny little blonde hair laying upon yellow tile in the upper corner of the shower, or in the hotel business, a little tiny speck of dust behind the mini fridge, okay? Or the check-in was at 3:05 instead of 3 p.m. These are not reasons to cave. When you do, you will destroy your staff morale. You will waste the owner's money, the owner of the hotel, the owner of the vacation properties. And guess what? They're probably going to do a bad review anyway. You know this because it's happened to you, has it not? So don't cave. At least don't cave so easily. Okay. So stand up to bullies. I'm going to actually come back to that in a minute. Now let's talk about beyond the bully. You see, the bully is not the person that is so far over the line that they get kicked out of the hotel. Okay, we're not talking about that. Most full refund scammers will not cross that line. When they start crossing the line and they drop the F-bomb, or they say sexist remarks, okay? I remember one day years ago in the 80s, we had a female general manager, and the guest said, I need to talk to the guy who's in charge. And I said, oh, just a moment, I'll bring her out. Yes, that was in the era of glass ceilings, which hotel industry smashed through. But people still think that way, okay? When you have people making racist remarks, hopefully they will not be directly blatantly racist, but they will imply racist remarks about not only people of color, but people who have accents. It is actually quite sad, the things that are sometimes said. When that happens, what I'm doing, if I'm managing your company, first of all, those people are out. Racist, sexist, personal threats are out. Okay, I'm going to call in the authorities, and they're gone. Okay, and they're put on the do not rent to, do not let stay here list. But sometimes people just get emotionally blown up and they drop the F-bomb, or they start cursing by accident. So I would give them the stern warning, sir, ma'am, I'm eager to assist you, but I must please request professional language and mutual respect. Say it nice and slow and give them a moment. And a lot of times they will drop their intensity. Remember, do not say, calm down, sir. Okay. But they have just crossed the line from bully if they say the F-bomb a second time, or if they even say one time racist, sexist remarks, depending on what was actually said. In my mind, they're out, and they should be out. Call in the authorities if you need to. But again, the vast majority of full refund scammers, they're bullies. They're just picking. They're like the kid in 5th grade They kicked the back of your chair when the teacher wasn't looking. And when that teacher looked, they stopped. And they picked, and then they stopped. They never crossed, they don't want to cross that line of being expelled or suspended. Okay. So finally, defend your brand online. I actually got this concept about 6 or 7 years ago when I was working and presiding on-site training. One of our smaller clients in terms of number of accommodations. A shout out to the Castle Hill Inn, excuse me, the Castle Hill Inn in Newport, Rhode Island, right on the entrance to the Narragansett Bay, the historic hotel. And my good friend, Brian Young, is actually the general manager. He has worked for Rosewood Hotels. He's worked for some amazing properties, Four Seasons. He's worked in Saudi Arabia, all around the world, in the Caribbean. And for the last 10 years, he's been managing the Castle Hill Inn. In fact, he took that property to a whole nother level. He was the first general manager that I knew that had the courage to stand up to bad reviews. And I actually read some of the reviews before he even told me about it. And I saw where there was one particular incident that where people were sitting in the eloquent dining room that they have there. Amazing. I believe it's called, it's a round room, and its name is escaping me. And they were having a loud and boisterous conversation, and they were asked to move to the bar location where they were served. And they were a highly disruptive group, and they went and did a bad review. So he actually went and defended the hotel. And I was like, yes. Because at that time, 6 or 7 years ago, we were told either don't respond or contact them and try to get it taken down and negotiate with the terrorist or a 4-year-old kid over a piece of candy. So instead, take a screenshot of this slide if you want. Thank them for their feedback. And I'm going to give you some sample wording next. Thank you so much for your feedback. And this is how we always look to improve, by getting feedback, whether it's good or bad. And we understand how you feel. And I can imagine how I might feel the same way too. If I had a little child or an important business meeting or an appointment for surgery the next day, or a small, well-behaved 55-pound dog when we were told no pets. I can imagine how you would feel. Now, however, and give your side of the story, okay? However, in checking further, as it turns out, okay, these are your transitional words. However, in checking further, as it turns out. Now, I'm going to give you a sample of how this might look. This is a lot of words. I'm going to leave it up here while I actually read it. Dear Mr. Kennedy, not me. I would never complain. I would not be a full rescun scammer. I have complained. Dear Mr. Kennedy, scammer, thank you for taking time to share your thoughts. Our team always welcomes feedback as it allows us to continuously improve service for our guests. It is unfortunate that we were not able to accommodate your need for early check-in. I am also the parent of a young child, not anymore, they're older. And I can imagine how tired everyone was after such a long day of travel. However, I was able to pull the call recording, and there must be some misunderstanding as to the comment from the review that you're responding to, that you were guaranteed early check-in by our staff. I was able to verify that we did in fact mention these are requests that are not guaranteed, and we also state that on our confirmation. So there must be some confusion. Perhaps someone else in your party called. Once again, though, thank you so much, as we always welcome feedback and appreciate your time and sharing it here on this side. We wish you well. We hope to host your family once again. Doesn't that look better than please call me to discuss, or sorry for the problem, let me know to discuss, or we just contact them and say we'll give you 1 night free and they say I want all 3 nights free? Okay, and it's like telling the kid no candy. Oh, but I want the candy. Okay, you can have the candy in 1 hour. But I want the candy now. Okay, you can have the candy in 15 minutes. Wah, wah, scream. Okay, here's the candy. And guess what? Now the kid controls you. So a little parenting advice there. Okay, not that I'm an expert, Well, I hope this has been helpful. First of all, to recap, remember to be all ears. And remember, let's start even further. Remember, don't let cynicism take the joy out of your hospitality industry. Do not let that kudzu grow and cover the optimism in the hearts of your hospitality team. Remind them that most guests just want to have a great time or a productive trip on their business experience or attending their meeting or function. That most of them are emotional creatures living in a physical world. The heart outweighs logic when emotions outweigh logic when we get upset. So if we first of all listen, let them talk, empathize before we apologize and resolve, and for big issues, check back and make sure they're satisfied. Thus, the EARS program, just like our Heart of Hospitality. And then as far as the scammers, document, document, document. Take good notes from the very first call. We usually hear a lot from them. They're trying to make a case in advance to get names and titles and roles to be lock us into something that they know that we can't deliver. It is really a game for some of them. Okay. Please join us again. We'll be here in just about 1 month. Reservation agents, it is not our job to tell them what's available. It is our job to help them decide. If you're at a branded hotel, I know we had Hyatt Centric, Homewood Suites, a lot of Hilton properties. Hey, check us out anyway, because your front desk still gets those people that want to talk to in-house direct on-site staff. Join us again for another hospitality theme in June. Teach your entire staff to elicit kama muta. That's that warm, fuzzy feeling we get when we make human connections. And then we'll finish up, well, not finish up, we go every month, but the next one that's currently posted, how to turn every guest conversation into a sales and marketing opportunity. And conversation in parentheses means chat, email, even AI-powered chat. We have a lot of clients now that have that little button after the chat, GPT, something like that, answers the question. Yes, there are 3 pools. Click here if you want to talk to a live person, or if you have questions on OTAs. We're going to talk about every conversation is a marketing opportunity. If you want to check out past webcasts, they're all on our KTN YouTube channel. Just search up Kennedy Training Network, click, and you will find them all. We are about 15. Join us, reach out to us if you're interested in on-site training, conference presentations for smaller teams in further locations, private live webcam training. We do mystery shopping. We also score recorded calls and email exchanges. And so we would love to hear from you. Thank you, everybody, for reaching out across the globe here, 5 continents, over almost 200 different companies for joining us today to share these thoughts. And we hope to see you again on future KTN webcasts. Have a wonderful weekend.